Okay, Bella, in this lesson, they just want you to kind of understand where the decimal makes sense to go. So if we were to multiply these two numbers, we know that the 3 is the whole number, and the other whole number that we have is the 7 that we're multiplying it against. So we're going to get a 21 as our whole number. Then we have a tenths place, and we have a hundredths place. Now, this reasoning only works because we're multiplying it by a single digit. So, based on what we see with our original problem, you're going to be looking for an answer out of these that has 2 digits behind the decimal place. So if you look at our second one, we have, we're multiplying an 8 and the other whole number is a 6. So we have 8 times 6. So our whole number is going to be 48. And then you have to look at how many decimals we would have behind the place value. We would have a tenths because of the 0, a hundredths because of the 2, and then a thousandths because of the other 2. So you're going to be looking through these answers here and making sense of which one has 3 decimals behind the place, behind the decimal, I guess, to see which makes sense. And so when you're explaining your reasoning, I've kind of modeled how you would explain. You could even just write here under whichever answer you think it's because they have 3 decimals behind the decimal. But you can't skip this step because sometimes our whole numbers, like if I was multiplying 10 times 10, even though I might, or I should take that back, undo, 10 times 10 and 5 tenths, I couldn't say that my answer should only have one place value behind the 0 because 10 times 10 is going to give me 3 whole numbers. So pay attention to the whole numbers that you multiply and then count the place values behind it. All right, for number 4, the Poetry Club had its first bake sale and they made $79.35. The club members are planning to have 4 more bake sales. Leslie said, if we make the same amount at the bake sale, we'll earn $3,967.50. Peggy said, no way, Leslie. We'll earn $396.75 after 5 bake sales. Use estimation to help Peggy explain why Leslie's reasoning is inaccurate. So remember, Leslie said $3,000. Sorry about the bell. And Peggy said it would be $300. So if their first bake sale, they make $79.35 for one, we're going to make 5 copies of that because it says 4 more. So they're trying to trick you with that 4 more. We have to include 1 bake sale would be 1 copy and then 4 more copies. So then use your reasoning that we used on the previous skills to help you figure out which 2 would be correct, which of the 2 would be correct. Then when we go to our next one, they've given you a problem here. You're supposed to circle which one of these values, here, 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 and here, which one of those values makes the most sense based on the decimal placement in one of your factors. That's your exit ticket. You have 2 problems like that. And then you have one where you're just supposed to estimate your answer. Now, if you wanted to do the real way, and I know that you kind of missed this a little bit with us yesterday, so I'm going to model it for you. The real way that we were learning how to do this was drawing the area model. And on our area model, one of our numbers goes on one side, so we have a 6. And then we're going to break apart the 7 into unit form. So I have 7 and the place value is the ones. Then we have a 1 and that's in the tenths. Sorry, my handwriting's so hard to read. And then we have a 3 in the hundredths. So when we have those, then we can use this area model to multiply it. No, thank you. Sorry, your classmates are walking in. So when I multiply in the area model, I'm just multiplying this one square, which is 6 times 7, and I don't have enough space to write it in there, so I'm going to write it below. And we get 42 ones. Then we are going to focus on the next square, which is 1/10 times 6, which would be 6 tenths. Okay, and then we're going to focus on our next square here. It has a height of 3 and a length, or I'm sorry, a height of 6 and a length of 3. So that would give me 18 hundredths. And remember, that's hundredths. So then we end up with a unit form for all of those, and we can go ahead and add those. And I would use your place value chart. I'm going to have to draw a place value chart for myself. So I have my ones here, my decimal, my tenths, my hundredths, and I'm going to put each one of these original numbers, or I guess I should call them our partial products, back into it. So actually I need to add a place value here. So I have 42 ones, which means my 2 is going to go in the ones place. My 4 is going to go in the tens place. And I have nothing else with this number right here. So then I go over here to my 6 tenths, and I'm going to put that, and I'm just going to move down a little bit on this place value chart and put in my 6 tenths. Put a decimal. And then I'm going to go over to my next one, and I have 18 hundredths. So the 8 should end up in the hundredths place. My 1 ends up in the tens. I put a decimal. And I'm going to add those numbers together. But before I can do that, I have to put in those placeholder zeros so that way I can do some addition. And now you can add those two together. But you also could have just focused on the 6 times the 7. And you would estimate that the answer would be somewhere around 42. And how many decimals are behind it? 2. All right, I hope that helps. Please email me if you have any other questions. We miss you, Bella.